If you are age 50 or older, there are some key ages to be aware of that could potentially save you money, allow you to save more money towards your retirement, increase your income, and reduce your overall tax situation. In this episode, Ben and I talk about the birthdays to look forward to.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searens, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome into Your Life, Your Money, helping you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement alongside Scott Searens, President and Financial Advisor at Searens Financial Group. I am Ben George, and we're glad to have you on the show today. We're going to talk about important birthdays, some ages you need to be thinking about. I know, Scott, we don't think about birthdays as much once we get past, I don't know, what's that age, 29? For a lot of people, that's kind of where they hang out and don't really think much later in life. But there are some important birthdays we need to talk about today.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ben. I think I kind of tell everybody every year it's this, well, just another day, right? Is that the comment? Just another day, just another day. Now, I know some people really do like to celebrate their birthdays. I guess I've never been one of those people, but I know some people, they have not only just birthday days, they have birthday weeks, birthday months. What about you, Ben? Where do you sit in the birthday table?
I don't make a huge deal out of it, but I like to go out and have a nice dinner or just do something different than we're normally doing. So I just try to change it up a little bit. But I've gone to the days of getting a bunch of people together and going out to a bar or a restaurant and having dinner and drinks or going on a big trip. Maybe that'll happen again sometime. But now it's more or less like just spending time with the family and going out and trying something new.
Well, and I don't know if we've ever talked about it, Ben, but how old are you? I'll give my age first. I'm 39, going into 40 this June. So that's that's one. I guess it's supposed to be a big birthday, one of the big birthdays, and people are like, "What are you doing to celebrate? Where are we going? What's going on? What are we going to travel to?" And I'm like, actually, it kind of got a little overwhelming for me, because like I mentioned, I'm not a huge birthday celebration person. I was like, you know what, family, friends, that's what, means the most to me, or just like you said, just going out, nice dinner and drinks. But I guess I'm hitting that next stage there.
Yeah, I turned 40 a year ago, so I'm 41 now. Just had my 41st birthday. So,
happy birthday!
Thank you. And we spent it in quarantine. So my wife turned 40 the same kind of time period. So we didn't really have an option to get out and do a whole lot. With all the restrictions going on. So I think at some point we'll kind of circle back to it maybe and have some kind of 40-ish birthday celebration maybe, but I think it is a bigger birthday, and it's worth trying to maybe do something a little bit bigger, because after 40, Scott, let's be honest, there's not a lot of other milestone birthdays that you're going to get out and really make a huge deal out of.
All right, good point. Yeah, I guess so. I do look at it as another year, and I got to tell you, I feel young still. I feel good. Right? Feeling healthy. I guess I'm very blessed, very lucky to have my health. And I know sometimes people look at it as like, I'm getting older. And, I think that's a mindset thing, right? And I'm like, nope, feeling young, feeling good, feeling great. So, but you're right. Probably a nice big day to celebrate.
Yeah, it is amazing how your perspective of age changes over time. I mean, even back in your early 20s, 40 just seemed a distant, out in the distance, but also, middle-aged. But you're right. You kind of get to that point and you're like, I don't feel much different than I did when I was thinking those thoughts, 15, 20 years ago.
The one thing I wish I had still, though, was when I watch my little cousins run around, and I'm sure you see this in your daughters,
yep.
I wish I had that energy still.
Mm-hmm. You do lose the energy, yep.
Yeah, that's the one thing I do see kind of continues to disappear over time, but I wish I had that energy still. I will say this to any of our listeners, if they, those that are listening want to celebrate my birthday, a great birthday present would be, and I'm just throwing this out there, Ben, I know we've got a lot of great listeners, is, hey, if they just go online and give us an honest review, right, on whether they're listening on Apple, where do you give the reviews at, Ben?
Yeah, whatever podcasting platform you're listening on, you should be able to drop a review there.
That would be great. I'd just appreciate if they go online, give us an honest review. That helps the podcast continue to grow. Is something that means a lot to me is helping a lot of people. So how's that? I'll throw my birthday wish out there.
That's a very fair request. It only takes maybe a few seconds, maybe a minute of your time to do, but we do appreciate it. And we do thank everyone that has listened to the show, provided feedback to the podcast as we've been doing it for a little bit of time now, and we appreciate you for joining us on this episode. Again, we'll put it up online, lifemoneyshow.com, so if you want to learn more, want to go back and listen to past episodes, or check out the video content that Scott produces as well, you can find it all right there at lifemoneyshow.com. All right, well, we're talking birthdays to get into the show because that's what we're discussing throughout. And I mentioned there's not any big birthdays that you're going to go out and probably make a huge deal out of, and I might be wrong there. Maybe you do get out and celebrate 50 and 60 and 70, those, every decade or so. Those are big deals, right? But maybe you don't celebrate them quite in the same way you do at 20 and 30 and 40. So I want to kind of highlight today, though, Scott, some ages that people need to be thinking about from a retirement planning standpoint. Now, these ages you might be familiar with, and some of these might just kind of be redundant for you, but there are, I think, a few things in here that you might not know about or just might not quite be aware of yet. So I think going through these today will help someone as you're thinking ahead to retirement, kind of figuring out, hey, what do I need to be doing next, or what do I need to be looking out for? These are some ages that will help you with that along the way. So you ready to jump into it, Scott?
Hey, ready to jump in. They get to celebrate in a different way, right? As we go through these different ages, there's some financial celebrations maybe.
Yeah, hopefully so. So let's start with age 50. So this, I know for a lot of people, you're thinking 50, I'm still a ways away from retirement at this point. But 50 is important because it's a chance to start stocking a little bit extra money away.
That's right. So age 50 is when the IRS allows you to make what they call catch-up contributions. So if you're contributing to a 401k, 403b, 457, or even an IRA, Roth 401k, once you hit age 50, you're actually able to contribute more money. So for instance, let's just go with the 401k under age 50. You're able to contribute $20,500 a year, but age 50 and over, you're able to contribute $27,000 a year. So let's just think about that, and let's multiply it out. That's $6,500 a year more. And let's just say you're on target to retire at 65. That's over $100,000 more that you can put towards your retirement, just starting at age 50. And then maybe you're saving also into an IRA or a Roth IRA. Under age 50, it's $6,000 a year. Age 50 and over, it's $7,000 a year. So another little $1,000 there. And I'm not going to call it little, right? $1,000 is a lot of money, but another $1,000 that you're going to be able to put towards your retirement, towards your savings. And so what does this really mean, and how or why would you want to use it? Well, one area is that if you're falling short towards your retirement goals, it's a good way to catch up. That's why they call it catch-up contributions. It's that ability to put extra towards your retirement. The other way that I see people utilize this, and I've got a lot of clients, that have already saved a healthy amount, but they're continuing to save, is to utilize it from a tax standpoint. Right, so if maybe you've got a very high income right now, well then this gives you another, $6,500 a year to put into that 401k, helping you gain an additional tax deduction. Or maybe you've saved already a lot into your 401k IRA, and you want to shift over to that Roth 401k. Again, Roth is where you pay the tax today, grows tax-free withdrawals in your future, passes on to other people tax-free, right? So it's a good way then to put more into the Roth. So I see a lot of clients also just kind of focus on this, not only just from a retirement savings standpoint, but how can they maximize their tax situation as well? I mean, I've got a few clients, just to share a story with you here, that are retiring mid-year. And one of the things that we did is prior to their retirement, we were just taking advantage of every last, ounce that they were able to get into a 401k. And so truly, like, they're retiring in June, by June, they're going to max out these amounts. And they realize, like, well, we basically don't have a paycheck coming in, right? They're living off of, we've set it up so they're living off of other savings, but it gives them that last opportunity to put that money into that Roth where it's going to grow tax-free, and they can make those withdrawals tax-free in the future. So a lot of different ways to look at it and think about it, not only from just a catch-up standpoint, but from a tax standpoint. And one other thing, Ben, in regards to this is your company won't automatically kick up your contributions for you. So if you turn age 50, you're going to need to go to your either online to where your 401k is at, or go talk to your employer. And if you have that ability to kick up your contributions, then you're going to, need to increase your percentage, your contribution amount in your 401k system.
That's a good point, and that's good to kind of say about everything financially, right? A lot you kind of have to do a lot of this on your own. Take the initiative to take these steps. I mean, these things are happening, but there's still action required by you in most instances, and that's a good reminder here of these contributions. If you do want to ramp it up, you do have to make that adjustment on your own. But I think it's a great one too, Scott, because I think a lot of people think, well, either you have the feeling of I'm falling behind, or I'd like to be doing more. And most people don't realize, hey, you do have an opportunity here in your highest earning years for the majority of people, your 50s, to really kind of put away more and more money. So if you do feel like you're behind, you can catch up. But also, if you are in a pretty good shape, like you said, it's just about maximizing your opportunity to really have a great retirement.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's all about maximizing the opportunity. And the other really good point there is, to all of these, nobody's going to walk up to you and say, hey, did you remember to do this, right? Unfortunately, we have to do all of this on our own. Now, part of our, I'll call it, structured process with our clients is that we're having our, beginning of the year strategy meetings, our end of the year tax planning meetings, where we're recapping, looking at each and every one of these things for our clients. But you're right. Otherwise, nobody's looking at this for you. So you need to make sure that you are listening in, right? Taking those actions, doing things that are going to help you maximize your retirement.
All right, so age 50, that is our first one. All right, we're going to skip ahead a few years to age 55. I like this one as well. Maybe this is one that a lot of people maybe aren't aware of, because you think about, hey, I'm going to pull money out of my retirement accounts at some point. You're thinking, I got to wait till I'm closer to 60, but 55 is really your first chance, right?
Yeah, a lot of people, like you mentioned, Ben, are thinking about age 59 and a half, that age which we'll get to next, where that 10% penalty goes away for taking money out of your 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, 457s, 403bs. But age 55 is actually a good one. So if you've saved up a healthy amount and you're like, you know what, I've achieved financial independence, I'm ready, age 55, pulling the work plug, right? Like I'm going off into retirement, or just into other things that I want to do. Age 55 is the age where you can actually make withdrawals from your company 401k without penalty. So again, most people think age 59 and a half, but age 55 is where you can take withdrawals out of your current company 401k without having that 10% penalty. Now, a few asterisks to put next to this one is it only applies, well, first off, you have to leave your job after turning 55, and it only applies to the 401k of the job you just left. So I know there's folks out there that have, maybe they worked for 4 different companies over their lifetime, and, they're carrying around 4 different 401ks, and they're thinking, wow, look at all this money I've saved up. Heck, I'm going to try to use the rule of 55 and retire, at age 55. I want to make sure that they know they've got to be very, very careful. Only money that they can withdraw without penalty is of the company, of the 401k of the company that they just left, at age 55 or after. So really important there. The other one, which I've done a YouTube video on this as well, and I remember one of the comments, because I put in the YouTube video, I said, and make sure, right, there's always exceptions, so make sure you check with your company. And one of the comments came back, no, Rule 55 applies to everybody. But let me just provide a quick story here of why you want to check with your company and not just think that, hey, I'm going to be able to retire at 55 and make these withdrawals from my accounts. So one of my clients, they saved up a healthy amount. They were ready to retire, not necessarily 55. They're kind of targeting 56. And they said, hey, we want to use the Rule of 55. And so what we did, we just picked up the phone. We called their 401k companies and went through the questions that we always go through. And the one spouse, the company allowed the 401k withdrawals. And I said, great, not only are they able to do the withdrawals, but can they do it on a monthly basis, a weekly basis? Like how often? The company said, oh, great question. They can do it on a monthly basis. Okay, perfect. That's going to work out. They can take money out of that account without penalty. Now, and like with all of this, Ben, we still have to pay federal income tax, right? We can't get away from that if we're withdrawing from the 401k.
Right.
The other spouse, we called their company, and they said, yes, you can use the Rule of 55. However, you have to make one lump sum withdrawal. And that would just, again, since you have to pay federal taxes, that would blow them up from a tax standpoint. And so from his standpoint, the Rule of 55, while it does exist, it really isn't feasible. Who would want to take, lots and lots of money out of their account and overpay in taxes just to try to retire early? It doesn't make a whole lot of financial sense. So that's why I said you got to really, make sure you do your due diligence on this one. If it's something that you were thinking about utilizing, make sure you call your company first. Make sure you fully understand the rules.
Yeah, as we go through these, you don't have to do everything that's on this list, right? These are just the options are open to you at this point. So this is another good one where, you might be able to pull money out of that account, but it also might not be in your best interest long-term to do so. So again, rely on your financial advisor to help you through each one of these things, and hopefully they are already. And if you don't have one, you can always get in touch with Scott. LifeMoneyShow.com is the website, and you can also call 847-235-6989. All right, one more age in our 50s to be paying attention to. 59 and a half. I love the half year. I don't know if anybody celebrates their half birthdays anymore, Scott, but 59 and a half is an important one.
Yeah, you got a good point. I think after turning 40, I'm definitely not celebrating any half birthdays. That's for sure. So 59 and a half, as I was mentioning earlier, I think that's the one that's really on a lot of people's minds, because that's when we can start pulling money out of our 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs without that 10% penalty. So now, still, if it's from a tax-deferred account like 401k, 403b, 457, or IRA, you're going to have to pay federal income taxes, and depending where you live, maybe state income taxes. However, if you're to do that before age 59 and a half and the Rule of 55 didn't apply, then you have to pay a 10% penalty for what they call as that early withdrawal. So, good age, right? Now we've actually hit that spot where we have full access to our retirement savings without any sort of penalty. Just remember, you're still going to owe an income tax. Another little one on this age that a lot of people may not know about is this is also an age where if you're still working, right? So if you're, hey, I'm, at my company, I'm still working, I'm still contributing to my 401k, but I'm not necessarily happy with the investment selections that they have at the 401k. Or, I've started working with a financial advisor, we're creating this plan, and I want my financial advisor to, manage my investments according to the plan that we've created. At age 59 and a half, and this is only in respect to the company that you're still working for. So if you've retired or left other companies, you can always do rollovers. But this is in respect to the company that you're still working for. At age 59 and a half, you can typically do what they call as an in-service withdrawal, or sometimes people call it an in-service rollover, meaning you're able to keep your 401k with that company, keep contributing to it, But let's just say you've got $500,000 in that 401k. You can most likely roll out some or all of that $500,000 to an IRA. And again, the reason you'd want to do that is maybe because you've got better investment selections in your IRA than you have in your current company 401k. Maybe you're working with a financial advisor and you want them to start managing that according to your overall plan. So I thought, I know we always focus on hey, we can make withdrawals without penalties, but I thought it'd be interesting to pull up or to go over that in-service withdrawal as well, because I don't see that a lot of people recognize and know about that one.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's the kind of goal for the podcast, is to help bring awareness in some certain areas, and that's one to do so. But again, you can withdraw, but you want to have a strategy before doing so. So that's 59 and a half. So time to shift into our 60s. Again, these are some of the ages that you're probably aware of, or at least have heard of before, but some very key ages to keep in mind. And I think a lot of these are important too for people that maybe are considering retiring early as well, because these are some things that kick in that you have to kind of plan around and be prepared for. If you don't get this Social Security as the first one at age 62, right? That's a key piece of income that you know before that age of 62 you need to have a plan for. But 62 doesn't mean you have to start Social Security though either, does it?
That's right. And it also doesn't mean that you have to retire at that age, Ben.
Right.
It's a lot of people, because they get those Social Security statements, and there's two things on there. One, it always says early retirement age, 62, full retirement age, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I'm not certain why, but I think maybe it's just because we get those so often that people like to tie a retirement age with Social Security, different Social Security ages. And here's the thing. You can retire whenever you so choose. It can be age, like we talked about earlier, it could be age 55, could be 59, could be 62, could be 70. Heck, I've got folks that have saved up enough where they've achieved financial independence and they're still working, right? So you can retire at any age you want. Just know that you have an ability at age 62 to start collecting Social Security. My personal opinion, personal feelings here, I highly recommend against it. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. And the reason why is that you are going to take a reduced amount. Now, can you take it? Sure can. Just realize on those statements when it says, here's your amount at full retirement age, the amount that you'll get at age 62 is going to be a reduced amount. And all of your future increases, the cost of living adjustments, etc., all of that's going to be based on the day that you take it. And so taking it early, now you're getting smaller increases, you name it. The other thing is if you decide to go back to work, so you took Social Security at age 62, you're like, I'm going to go back to work age 64. Well, if you decide to go back to work, again, this is all before full retirement age, and you make over the limit that Social Security sets, they're going to withhold $1 for every $2 you make. And so I would just say be really, really careful in regards to Social Security decisions. We'll talk about that, and I think we're going to talk about full retirement age here in a little bit, but and I'll talk a little more in regards to Social Security planning when we tackle that.
Okay. But yeah, 62 is when you are first eligible to receive Social Security. All right, 65. We talk about healthcare costs, how expensive this is in retirement for a lot of people. And if you retire early, I think one of the big eye-openers is how are you going to pay for healthcare until age 65, which is where Medicare kicks in.
Boy, you are correct there. Prior to age 65, health insurance can be really, really expensive. And that is one thing when we're going through planning with clients. I've got clients that have want to retire at age 56, clients that retired at age 62. One of the things that we need to do is prior to age 65, you want to make sure that you're including some money in your overall plan for health insurance. And it can be a lot. I mean, I'm, typically when planning with couples, for each person, anywhere, if they're anywhere between age 55 and 65, I'm going to throw in about $20,000 a year in there just for health insurance planning. Is it going to be that much? Hey, we're not necessarily sure, but it is going to be a lot. So that's, where age 65 comes in, because that's when Medicare kicks in. And Medicare is the federal government's health insurance for those that are age 65 plus. There's Part A, which is hospital insurance, Part B, which is the medical insurance, that's like your doctor's visits. There's C, which is voluntary, that's Medicare Advantage, and then Part D, which is the prescription drugs. So it's amazing, but getting just over that 1 year, right, is a huge financial saving. So age 65, for those that maybe did retire early, age 65, that is a very great birthday present to those people to not have to worry about the private health insurance.
Yeah, no question. All right. Continuing on Social Security, you have age 66 or 67 is that actual full retirement age for Social Security.
Yeah, and I guess I should have put in here, Ben, too. It could be any age or any month between there. So full retirement age is kind of this designation by Social Security. Sometimes you also see it called your primary insurance amount. So this is the dollar amount. This is the Social Security dollar amount that everything is based off of. So meaning if you take earlier than this age, then they're reducing the dollar amount, this primary insurance amount, based on when you're taking it earlier. If you're taking it after this age, then it grows each year that you wait, it's growing 8% until you decide to take it. And it's all based on when you were born. So it could be 66, it could be 66 in 6 months, 66 in 10 months, it could be age 67. And it's all going to tell you that on your Social Security statement. Now, another thing when it comes to Social Security is you can actually take it at any year and month that you want to. So if you want to take it at 65 and 6 months, you can. If you want to take it at 68 and 8 months, you can take it then. But you can take it at any point in time, and you can wait all the way up until age 70, in which case it's maxed out. Now, I mentioned earlier Social Security planning, to me, really, really important. I find sometimes people take it too early. A lot of times people are very focused on, trying to look at the numbers based on how long that they'll live. And that is one factor that's really important. But the other thing that you have to look at is how much do you have saved up in your retirement savings? Because if you don't have enough saved up in your retirement savings, you take Social Security too early and your retirement income gap is too big, well, you could potentially run out. Or maybe you've got a ton in your retirement savings and Social Security isn't going to make an impact on your life, well then, yeah, maybe you take it earlier and reinvest it. The other thing is if you're a couple, you'll continue to hear me stress this, I know we've talked about it in many episodes, is that if one of the two spouses were to pass away, you only get to keep one of the two Social Securities and you get to keep the higher of the two. So a lot of times what we're doing when working with clients is we're trying to stretch at least one of the Social Securities until age 70. Again, if something were to happen, leaving that remaining spouse with as much as possible. Yeah,
Social Security, a lot of people might not think about how much strategy goes into it and how much thought you should put into when to claim. But as you can tell, there's a lot that you should be considering, and you should be working with your advisor before you make the claim for your benefits. It might cost you a lot of money, and you don't want to leave anything on the table if you can help it. So, again, that's full retirement age for Social Security. All right. How about age 70 and a half, the first age in a 70, another half age for us? What happens here?
Yeah, this was one where it used to be the rule for required minimum distributions, but that got pushed to age 72. But one of the items that got left at age 70 and a half was what are called qualified charitable distributions. You also might hear it related to as QCDs. If you are charitably inclined, this is where you can take out of your IRA or 401k, but most likely probably at this point in time, if you're retired, it's in an IRA. You can take out of your IRA and give directly to the charitable organization. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, let's say you take out of the IRA, you put it into your checking account. Well, and I'm just going to use an amount here. Let's say $20,000. So you take $20,000 out of the IRA, you put it into your checking account. Well, you're going to get taxed on that $20,000. But instead, if you take that $20,000 directly from your IRA to the charity, now that is a non-taxable distribution. And so there you go. If you were going to give to the charity either way, you may as well give it to them directly from your IRA.
Yeah, that's smart. Very smart planning. All right, age 72. So you mentioned RMDs used to be age 70 and a half. They've been pushed back to 72, but this is when you have to start pulling some money out, right?
Yeah, nobody likes to hear this date. I tell you what, even I work with a lot of savers. People have saved up a lot of money, and typically, as much as I push them to spend it, right, and enjoy it, folks aren't going to maybe spend necessarily everything, and so sometimes people are just like, gosh, I just want to leave the money in the account. I don't need to touch it. Well, you know what? Age 72, those IRAs, 401ks, you do have to start taking the money out. Forced by the IRS, because if you don't take the money out, you will get penalized. For example, let's say you have to take $20,000 out of your IRA, but you're like, you know what? Forget about it. Let it in there. Let it grow. The government's going to penalize you 50% of the amount that you failed to take out. So they're going to penalize you $10,000. And if that doesn't hurt enough, Ben, then they're still going to tax you on the total $20,000. So kind of a double whammy.
Yeah.
So really important, make sure that you take out your required distributions. This amount does go up over time. I think that's one thing people don't recognize either, which is okay, right? There's a lot of different rules, thoughts, things that are out there in regards to our financial lives. But, a lot of times I get the question, well, hey, what is the percentage that I have to take out? And there's a calculation table that you go through. You always look at the prior year's end of year value. You put that value through the table, and it tells you how much you have to take out. One thing to recognize is that amount that you're going to have to take out, if you're getting any sort of growth in your accounts, that amount's going to go up over time. And this is where tax planning comes in, because I think traditionally we've kind of been led to save all of our money in our 401ks, saving your 401ks, and then you roll that into an IRA, and then now all this money has to come out. And this is where people can all of a sudden be put into a higher taxable income in their future than where they're at today. So upfront tax planning is really, really important. There are things that we can do prior to age 72 to help reduce people's long-term tax burden. And so that's one important thing to think about as well. The other here, Ben, is that if you do turn age 72, let's say this June, right? You've got a birthday with me in June. You actually have until next April of the following year to take that required distribution. But then just remember, you're going to have to take 2 distributions that following year. So just different ways to think about it. But yep, age 72, take those RMDs. Now, one caveat, put a star on this one. If you're still working and you're still contributing to your 401k, then you don't have to take that RMD from that 401k, but just the 401k where you're working that you're contributing to until you retire. So there you go. If you don't want to take the money out, I guess one option is to keep working and keep contributing.
Yeah, that's always an option. All right, so those are your key ages there, Scott, and just kind of wrapping it up, no matter where you are in life, what age you are, the next one's always most important. So if you haven't started your plan, if you haven't sat down and looked through your plan in a while, if you have any of these ages coming up, whatever it is, take the next step that you need to secure your future.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, you can find Scott online, lifemoneyshow.com. That's also where you can send in questions to the show. We got a couple we want to get before we get out of here. First one from Catherine here. Scott says, I've always heard people talk about the importance of life insurance, but I never fully grasped the importance. of it until my husband died unexpectedly last month at the age of 61. And I got a check for $250,000 almost immediately. It's very comforting to know the money is there, but now I don't know what to do with it. What do you suggest?
Well, first off, sorry to hear what, Catherine is going through here. I always say, first and foremost, take some time, right? Because we never want to jump into any sort of irrational or emotional decisions. So take some time to process what has happened and go through those stages. After that, I would recommend, utilizing these funds if you have any major debts, burdens that have been put on you or that you're trying to pay down or pay off. I would recommend, paying off any debts. Then after that, before jumping into any sort of big purchases, this is where I'd really sit down and review your overall financial picture and financial plan. Where will this money help and support you the most? We were talking about earlier with Social Security, one spouse passes away, you're going to lose one of the two Social Securities. So, looking at the financial picture, looking at the financial plan, do you need this money to replace an income stream, to replace a Social Security? Did your husband have a pension? Do you need this money to help replace that pension? So understanding where you sit financially is very helpful, because then that tells you, okay, do you need to invest this money? And if you do, how do you need to invest this money? Maybe you don't. And then, then that's where maybe other sort of purchases come in. But if you do need it to replace future income streams, then going through that financial plan will help you understand that and how to invest it accordingly.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Catherine, again, echo Scott's thoughts. Our condolences to you on your loss. All right, one more question today before we wrap up the show comes in from Claire. It says, my husband simply refuses to retire because he can't imagine life without a paycheck, but he's approaching 70, and I really think it's time for him to walk away. What can I do to convince him that he should retire?
Ben, I think this is a tough one for you and I to, I'm going to say, fully grasp and understand, because we're, fortunate enough right now to have company paychecks coming in. And I've met with, I've met with a lot of people and I help a lot of people out. But just this week, I've sat down with 3 different couples, and this is a true fear, and it's real. Those that are savers, right? And I work with folks that have saved all different amounts, but even that have saved millions, 2 millions, 3 millions, and more, right? Those that are savers have a really tough time becoming a spender.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really tough time looking at their retirement savings and saying, okay, that company paycheck's no longer coming in, and now I've got to use this retirement savings to, start cutting my own retirement paychecks. And that may, right, be what's going on here. And what it tells me is that there's most likely no plan or no strategy in place. So I can relate to these folks because I've seen it with all of the different clients that I work with that have saved up, $1 million or more, or even less than that, right? It doesn't matter, but work with a lot of people that have saved up $1 million or more, and there's still that fear there of what happens when I don't have that company paycheck coming in. And as we go through the process, and this is what I found, that most of them did not have a plan or a strategy in place, and we go through the process to put together the income plan, put together the strategy, help them see and understand income guardrails. And my goal is to give my clients that license to spend, that license to use what they've worked so hard to save, but within the guidelines, within the guardrails, meaning knowing that, hey, yes, we're going to have, it's not if, it's when the market corrects, right? And we're going to have events like that. And it's knowing, hey, that we don't have to turn off the faucet, meaning turn off the retirement paychecks. We just have to know how much to reduce them. And that's one of our guardrails. The other guardrail is, hey, the market, we also look for it in the future to do really well. And when it grows, knowing when we can turn that faucet on more and collect more retirement paychecks. But I would say, what should you do to convince him to retire? Just understand that it's a real fear. And then, have you sat down yet with a financial advisor to put together a plan and strategy to know how big of a retirement paycheck that you can cut from your retirement savings, but also the guidelines, or what I'm calling guardrails, to be able to make it last?
Very good. Thank you for that question, Claire, and also Catherine as well. If you have one for us, you can send it in to us via the website, lifemoneyshow.com. You'll find every podcast there, plus video content as well. Again, the goal to help you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. You can call Scott over at Searns Financial Group directly at 847-235-6989 as well, if you prefer to do that. But either way, take advantage of what we have here on the show and pay attention to that next birthday that's coming up that's important, and make sure you have a plan in place and work with your advisor. All right, Scott, we'll get out of here on that note. Happy birthday to you. I look forward to hearing about what you actually end up doing for your birthday coming up. So good luck.
Hey, thanks, Ben.
Searns Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Searns Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Searns Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Searns Financial Group, Inc.